I am live. I'm just going to get it up on my phone as well so I don't miss any comments. Hello Queens. Hello to those that are watching this back. I'm just waiting for it to go live on my phone as well so I can check I'm not missing anything. How are we all today? Happy Thursday. I think it's Thursday. Here we go. Okay, so let me see if I can see any comments that are coming up. All right, ladies, welcome to the live. Welcome to the replay. This is also going to be a podcast. Welcome to the podcast. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm Victoria, as you already know, if you're watching this live in the group. Anyone that wants to say hi, feel free to comment. And what's going to happen is I'm going to answer the questions that I've been given. And then if you have any questions at all throughout my live, then pop them in the comments and then I will answer them at the end. So let's get into this then. So the first question I got given was by the wonderful Caroline, and Caroline says, she needs help with stress and anxiety in my life and binge and emotional eating and emotional issues with anxiety, with high blood pressure tablets and feeling like something is going to happen. Okay, so the first thing that I take from this, Caroline, thank you for your question or for reaching out, and that is, it seems like stress and anxiety is the driving factor in your life behind any kind of binge and emotional eating. Disordered eating, and when I say disordered eating, I mean any way of eating that is negatively impacting your life. It seems like the disordered eating for you, Caroline, is a symptom of anxiety and stress in your life. And this is often the case because what any kind of disordered eating is actually a symptom of underlying anxiety, because disordered eating is at the core an anxiety issue. It just manifests in the form of controlling food. Usually it goes something like this. We don't like our body. We feel anxious and worried about being judged by other people based on what our body looks like. We then go on a diet. Diets actually don't work. We restrict when we diet, therefore we end up binge eating and emotional eating, and that gets out of control. All the things that you know about if you're listening or watching to this. And then underneath all of that was the anxiety around worrying what you looked like. So it is just a symptom. So what I would recommend for you, Caroline, is number one is to be in the now as much as possible. And what I mean by that is to be in the present moment as much as possible, because when you're in the present moment, which is all we really have actually, we cannot feel anxiety or stress, because those anxiety and stressful feelings are either because we're thinking about something that's going to happen in the future and we're anxious about it, or we can also be reliving something that was difficult for us to experience and to go through that happened in the past. But actually, if we live in the now, all there truly is now. And I know I keep feeling like I'm repeating myself when I'm saying this, but if you really practice coming into the present moment, ways that you can do this are simply look around the room now. Let's all do this together. What can you see in your environment that is blue? So for me, it's the sky, because I can see the window and the sky outside. It's the wall colour, which I don't actually like, but we've not got round to changing it yet. There's this behind me, which is blue. What else is blue? There's some paper down there that I can see that's blue. Also, ask yourself these questions. What can you see, which is what we've just done the exercise with. Like, you can choose a colour, or you can just simply ask yourself what you can see. What can you hear? How do you feel? What can you smell? All the senses that you've been gifted with since you were born, use those to help anchor you and to ground you into the now. And what you'll notice is when you're living in the now, you will feel so much calmer. You will feel so much more content. You will feel so much more peace and love. Even if you're doing something like washing the dishes, instead of thinking, oh, I've got all these dishes to do, think of the one dish that you are currently washing. Feel the soap and the water on your hands as you're washing it. that is practice of being in the now, but I promise you, you will feel a lot better. It's just practice. A great book recommendation that I would recommend is called The Power of Now, and that's by Eckhart Tolle. It's a great book, and it really does give you so many tools and spiritual guidance as to be in the now. So that's the first thing that I would recommend, Caroline. The second thing that I would say to you is, can you look at your life, right? Write down, pen and paper here, journal exercise, put a line down the middle of the page and then make it into like 2 columns. On the left hand side, put things I like about my life. On the right hand side, put things I dislike about my life. And I want you to jot down everything on the left that you love or like about your life or that you're happy with, and everything on the right that you're dissatisfied with in your life. And then when you've done that, I want you to look at the page that you've wrote and think to yourself, right, what can I change about the things I am not happy with in my life? Can I change anything? Or if you can't physically change it, can you look at it from a different perspective? Because everything that happens to us in our life, it depends on how we choose to respond to what's happened to us or what's happening to us. And it's how we choose to perceive that situation. I choose to perceive every situation as it's happening for me, not to me. So I'm taking myself out of victim mentality and I'm seeing it as a gift, even if I don't want that gift because I think it's shit and I don't want to accept it. Life on life terms, this is the situation, what's going on right now. How can I see this as a gift? How can I learn from this? You know, it's just changing your perceptive. Perceptive, that's not a word. Perception. In fact, I'll be interested to see what the captions use, how the captions put that word, because I don't think that was even a word. But anyway, and another thing I would ask you to write down and read to yourself every day is the Serenity Prayer. So this isn't, I've adjusted it a little bit to fit how I see the world, but as I've just explained to you the exercise that you can do in regards to this is what I like about my life, this is what I don't like about my life, what can I actually do to change anything? If I can change things, what can I do to change it? So I forgot to say that bit. So say if you're looking at your list and one of the things that you don't like about your life is the anxiety that you feel because of the job that you do, as an example, can you change that circumstance in your life? And if it was that you wrote down, you absolutely can. You might have to plan things to get to that stage, to get another job in place or to get support in place, but you can absolutely change that, even if it's scary, because we think we're stuck and we're actually never stuck. We just think we are. So when you've done that list, write down this Serenity Prayer and put this on a sticky note all over your house, on your mirror, and I want you to read this to yourself every day. So this is my version of it. I speak into existence the ability to accept the things I cannot change, have the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. I'm just going to repeat that. I speak into existence the ability to accept the things I cannot change, have the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Okay, so can you see that you can change your life? You are not stuck, and the things that you've written down that you really have no control over, choose to think of it from a different perception. How is this a gift? Even if you don't want it, how could it be a gift? And just let go. Let go, surrender, let go of control. And there's 2 words that I've written down here, fear and danger. So you mentioned in your comments, Caroline, that you want to be comfortable around others. So this was the second question you asked, and you're scared of others judging you. Fear and danger are 2 different things. Fear is only a feeling, it's invisible, it's just a feeling that we feel. And when we feel fear, it's either reminding ourselves or remembering a memory where something happened that was scary, and then that brings up fear as we remember that. Or we can be thinking of something that may or may not happen in the future, that feels scary to us, and therefore we feel the fear. In the present moment, there is no fear. There's only danger if something is dangerous. So the difference between danger and fear is danger is something like, I don't know, a what example am I trying to think of? I'm thinking of a thunder and a lightning storm. If there's like lightning bolts like shooting through the sky and you're caught in the storm and you're in the woods and it's, you know, you could be hit by lightning or a tree could be hit by lightning and it could fall on you. Bit of a strange example I've given there, but that could be a dangerous situation to be in. So the fear that you would feel in that moment would be helpful. And if a tree did fall and you had to run away from it, for example, you wouldn't be feeling the fear necessarily. You'll be feeling danger and you'll be reacting straight away in the moment. So fear is just a feeling that's not even true, especially if it's something that's not happened in the future yet. So it just helps to reconnect to the truth of that and understand that fear of other people's judgments or fear of something happening or not happening is simply that, a feeling, and you can choose to sit with yourself, feel that feeling, and choose faith or hope or love instead. It just takes practice. And the other thing that you said, Caroline, was I want to be comfortable around others and feel better in food freedom, but I'm scared for myself, like always losing control of my weight. I would love to be a size 10 or 12, but I'm struggling more with my health issues and blood pressure tablets. Okay, I'm bringing these words surrender and trust into this again, because here's the thing, and I know that you tagged me in something, Caroline, which I think it's worth bringing up here because it's helpful to help me with what I'm going to explain now to you. You tagged me in a smoothie weight loss thing, this healthy living thing. Thank you for tagging me, by the way, because I know that your question was, what do I think about this? And I responded to you saying, any form of diet or any form of way of eating with weight loss in mind is not going to be helpful in any way, shape or form if you struggle with disordered eating. I am all for health and nourishment, but from a place of weight neutrality, not with the goal of weight loss. So this ties in nicely to your question or your concern around you desperately wanting to be a size 10 or 12. If you can surrender and let that go for now, and trust that this food and body freedom journey is all unfolding perfectly for you as it is, even if it doesn't feel like it right now, I promise you it is. Every single one of us are exactly where we're supposed to be right now. If you can just let go of a desire to be a certain body size, then we can start to look at health and nourishment from a different perspective, from a different loving energy, not the energy of control. Because believe it or not, and I talk about this in depth in my program, my coaching program, your body size is actually not in your control. You just think it is. And we're also led to believe by the diet and beauty industry that it is, because then we spend money trying to change it. And if you're sat there listening to this or watching this back or whatever it may be, and you're arguing with me in your head, like, actually, no, that's not true, because I have changed my body this many years ago and I did manage to achieve this goal weight, etc. My question to you is, how long did that last for? If you're listening to this or watching this and you're in my world, there's a reason that you're in my world, right? If you were really happy with your body and you didn't have any struggle with disordered eating, you wouldn't be needing to hear this. So you cannot control your body, you just think you can. What we can do, however, is work towards health and nourishment from a place of weight neutrality. So we can work towards health beyond diet mentality. And a question that I would like you to journal on, Caroline, and anyone else listening or watching this, if you feel this would be helpful for you, then do the same. The journaling prompt is, how would my life be any different if I woke up tomorrow being the exact size that I wanted to be? How would my life be different? How would I feel? What would I do that I'm not doing right now? Let it all out, write it all down. If you woke up tomorrow and you was magically the size you wanted to be, what effect would that actually have on your life? You might be surprised with what comes up for you. And then what we would do together if we were coaching together would be, I would be looking at that journaling list that you've come up with, and we'll be working towards, because everything that you write down will be a feeling, by the way. What we think will happen when we reach a certain body size, we think we will feel all these amazing things. You can feel those things without having to change your body and get smaller. I promise you, and this is what we work towards, and there's so much proof in this. I'm proof of that, all my clients are proof of that. It just takes some realignment within, and some shifting, and some changing your limiting beliefs and all the things that I teach, but it is 100% possible. Everything you've written down in response to the journal prompt of what would be different in my life if I woke up the size I wanted to be, you can have that without being a certain size. And there's too much to say about that in this short podcast, this short live, but I promise you it's possible. But just please journal on that and then share it in the group, because I can then assist and see what comes up for you and help you with some wisdom and some action points going forward. So please do that in the group. And the last thing I want to say to you, Caroline, is self-love, body image work, all the inner work, all the letting go of limiting beliefs, all the inner child healing, all the action steps that you take to be the person that you want to be, all the work you do around letting go of others' judgments of you is going to help with your eating, how you take care of yourself. Everything is all intertwined. There's not one set thing that someone needs to hear or to go through in order to be free around food and be happy and accepting of their body. There's loads of little things like done in a specific order that will help you to live in food and body freedom. And this is why I absolutely love doing what I do, because I can show you the path and support and guide you through that. So Caroline, I hope those have been helpful for your questions. I'm just going to have a sip of water before I move on to the next question. And I'm also going to check my comments because, oh, here we go. Oh, I've only just seen all your comments. Hi, Dawn. Hi, Caroline. Hi, Tracy. I'm just going to read a few comments. I did this very early on in my journey and it totally put everything into perspective. Yes, Dawn, not entirely sure what you're talking about because I've only just seen the comments, but thank you for sharing. And Dawn says she has a great husband, amazing kids, friends and family who love me. I have a great job, nice house, nice car. None of that would change if my body was bigger or smaller. Yes, yes, yes. Thank you for sharing. Okay, so Alana, all the way from the US across the pond. Although, even though I'm English, do we still say across the pond if I'm not currently in the UK? I'm in the Netherlands, who knows? But hi Alana, when you're watching this back. So Alana says, struggling to want to go out because of the fear of being judged. I'm holding back on living my life because I feel unworthy. Feel you, I really feel you. I'm going to commit to doing it anyway and we'll post in the group, well done, but we'll love to hear any thoughts you have. Absolutely, I have thoughts on this, of course, so that's why I'm here. I want you to imagine for a moment, right, so just connect to yourself, just take a few seconds to ground and listen to this question. Imagine for a moment that you did feel worthy. Imagine that you felt so overflowing with self-worth, with self-love. Imagine that you fully believed in every cell of your being that you was worthy. How would your life be different? What would you do differently in your life if you knew you were worthy of it all? What would you say to yourself? How would you talk to yourself? How would you show up for yourself and how would you take care of yourself? This is more of a journaling prompt as well as a meditation question you can meditate on. What would you do differently if you knew you was worthy? What would your life look like? It's a similar question to what would your life look like if you were skinny enough or whatever enough. What would that look like for you? That's the first thing. The second question I'd like to ask you is, what would it take for you to feel worthy enough? What would it take? Would it take 1 million people telling you that you're worthy? Would it take something happening to show you that you're worthy? What would it take for you to feel worthy enough? And that's something that I would like to coach you on. I know that you're in our group coaching, Alana, so bring that to our next call, because depending on what your answer is to that, I can then ask you questions and we can go deeper with that, but just something for everyone to think about. The third thing I would like to share with you around this is, when was your earliest memory of you feeling unworthy? Maybe you had no memory of you feeling worthy at all. Maybe you learnt this from a very young age before your memory kicks in. Do you remember a time where you actually felt worthy? And or when was the first earliest memory as a child that you can think of where you felt unworthy? And again, we would need to be on a coaching call for me to ask you more questions around this. But what would have happened is, and this is obviously just guessing because I'm not with you on the call right now, but I see this so much from myself and with other clients. What would have happened is something would have happened in your childhood, an experience that would have made you feel unworthy, or your little child brain wouldn't have been able to work through it and consciously decide to accept or reject that or bring logical mind into it. And so you would have made a story up, your child brain would have made a story up in order to protect you in the future. And the story might have been something like, when that happens, it means I'm not good enough. Or when this happened, or when I feel this feeling, or when this situation happens, it means I need to shut down, put my barriers up and like retract from life, because then I'm protecting myself. So again, it's hard to like give a true example without speaking to you. And I've seen your question, Caroline. I'll answer that at the end. Absolutely. So stay with me and I'll come to that. But going back to this worth issue, when was the first time you felt unworthy, and what story did you tell yourself? Because through inner child work and through timeline therapy, which is something that I do with my clients if needed, on one-to-one especially, we can go and revisit that time or many times and choose a new story for yourself. And then imagine your life that you've already lived. Imagine if you had lived your life with a new story that served you. Instead of I am unworthy, how would your life have looked like going back in your past if you showed up worthy because you knew you was worthy? And then we can there's energetic shifts that happen when we do this work, and then going forward into the future, you can choose to show up feeling worthy. But first of all, you need to shift that unworthiness, and it's a limiting belief. It will be energy stuck in your body, and that's something we need to work on together. But again, something to really think about and journal about if you feel called to, because you was not born feeling unworthy. Something in your environment, and I think I know what it would have been for you, Alana, without knowing your full history, but knowing, a bit about your history, I think I know what would have caused that. But ask yourself, is there anything else before that even happened? For that to happen, you would have had to not felt good enough in the beginning, right? And again, a few more journal prompts. I clearly love my journaling, or even questions to answer in your own head. In the situation that you're talking about, as an example, Alana, you're holding yourself back from life because you feel unworthy. When you feel that in your body again about an upcoming event, I want you to ask yourself, number one, what's the worst case scenario that could happen in this experience that is going to happen in the future? What's the worst case scenario? And then what's the best case scenario? What's the worst case scenario? What's the best case scenario? And then ask yourself, if the worst case scenario happened, which by the way is 99.999% unlikely to actually happen, if it happened, will you be okay? Will you still be alive? The answer would most likely be yes. And that's a really helpful exercise to go through, because in our heads, when we're feeling all this fear and anxiety, it can feel so much worse than what the worst case scenario could actually be, right? So that's a really interesting exercise to go through. And the last few things I wanted to say about this is, in order to feel worthy of living your life, of receiving joy and love and all these beautiful things that are available to us in life, we need to increase our capacity to receive and then hold joy, love, and abundance. And this is a practice, and this is something that I've gone through this last year, and it does happen very, very gradual. But also, if I look back, wow, I've come so far. I used to have a limiting belief where I used to think and believe that in order to be worthy, I needed to do something in order to earn it. But that's not true. As human beings, we are God's, or the universe's, or fill in the blank, highest form of creation. You are God's highest form of creation as a human. You are worthy just because you are here, just because you are alive, right? Just be with that for a moment. You are so worthy beyond imagination. You can't even imagine how worthy you really are. So just allow that to sink in, allow those codes to remind you who you really are, which is pure love and pure joy and pure light. And you are so worthy. And if you don't feel it right now, that's okay. You're just out of alignment with who you really are. But when you get into alignment, which is all the work that we do together, then you will feel so worthy because you will know it. It's not even a belief anymore. It's a knowing. So anything that you can do that pulls you gently towards the knowing how worthy you are, follow that, even if it feels uncomfortable. When I first started practicing receiving more love and joy and abundance without self-sabotaging, because my comfort zone was struggle. So when amazing things would happen in my life, without knowing it consciously, I would do things that would pull me back down to my comfort zone, which was something had to be difficult. I had to be struggling at something. And my affirmation and repeat over and over again in my head was, life gets to be this good. I am so deserving of everything just being alive. I don't have to do anything to be worthy. I am worthy, right? Spamming myself with these post-it notes all over the house. And then taking the time when something amazing happens in my life, even if it's something really small, like seeing the sunrise and me thinking, wow, that's beautiful, to just take a few seconds to see it, notice the beauty and receive the beauty feeling in my body. It's the receiving of joy and love and abundance, and then the holding that without grasping onto it, without like holding onto it so it can't escape, just holding it and allowing it to be there and then letting it go and moving on. I hope that makes sense. I think it does, because I know that you use quite spiritual language as well, Alana, but it's really about receiving more joy, love and abundance and holding that. And you will increase your capacity as you practice this, but it will feel uncomfortable. But that's the point, right? The last thing I wanted to say is, when you're doing things out of your comfort zone, which you are, and you're going to share in the group, which is incredible, so I want to acknowledge you for that, take your own hand as you go through this process. So it's about expanding your window of tolerance. It's about going to your edge and stretching that edge, but not going past it. Because sometimes if you're feeling really, really anxious about something and you're thinking, right, Victoria said to like take the leap, to put yourself outside of your comfort zone and go for it, which yes, I do say that. But if taking that big leap is going to cause more anxiety and more fear and more stress and trauma and re-traumatize you, more so than the growth you'll experience from doing the scary thing, then you need to take a smaller step and hold your own hand through it all and just be there for yourself with love and support. And you can absolutely do this. You absolutely can. So I hope that's helped you, Alana. And then Dawn says, hi Dawn, mental restriction is still something that is popping up for me. I'm allowing myself physically, at least I believe I am, but I think I need more practice in challenging that inner voice in a way that's going to listen and shut the fuck up. We do swear on this podcast. And just a little PS, do you know how many times I've wrote here to change the language I've used? Quite a bit, so that's a win. Yes, Dawn, it is a win. I'll be curious to see what words and what language you actually used when you were typing that out first. And of course, I've got a few things to say about this. So when you say that you're physically allowing, and then you said, at least I think I am, where do you think that doubt is coming from? Is there any doubt, or were you just second guessing yourself because you're still experiencing mental restriction? Is there anywhere in your life, the way you're eating, the way you're choosing food, is there anywhere where you may not be allowing physically? If you was to be fully honest with yourself, are you really allowing everything that you want to eat physically? So just something to ask yourself. And then what's the inner voice saying to you? So when you say that the mental restrictions popping up, what's that saying to you? What kind of thoughts is a mental restriction saying? If you're still watching live, when I finish giving you this advice, I'll check the comments and then I can go even deeper into that. But first of all, what's your inner voice saying? And then what I would really like to talk about with regards to your comment, I'm just going to quote you again. I need more practice in challenging the inner voice in a way that's going to listen and shut the fuck up, right? You are resisting this inner voice, and whatever you resist persists. It's the truth. It's a cliche, and it's a cliche for a reason. Whatever you resist persists, right? So the fact that you're resisting it and you don't want it to be there and you want it to fuck off, I totally get it, because it's annoying and it can self-sabotage. I want you to swap the word challenge with recognize, reassure, and reframe. So 3 R's. Recognize the self-saboteur, the unkind voice, the inner bitch. Recognize that she's talking to you. Reassure yourself and reassure her that it's okay. I know why you're here. Thank you for coming. But actually, I don't need your input right now. I let you go with love. And then you can reframe that thought in a positive way. But I know that you and I have been through the wheel of emotion that I'm going to reframe into the wheel of believable positive reframe. So get that wheel exercise, and just a quick one for anyone who doesn't know what the hell I'm talking about right now. You draw like a clock face on a piece of paper with like 6 to 12 segments. You write down the thought, the limiting thought that doesn't feel great at all. You write that down. Then as you go through each segment, you write down a higher vibrational thought that you believe, that's the really key, that you believe that's higher vibrational than the first one. And then you can stop when you feel that you can't go any further, but I guarantee you will feel better after doing this exercise. So Dawn, do that with the thoughts that you're still experiencing around mental restriction, and share that with me in the group, and then of course I can coach you around that. And then what else did I want to say with this? Oh yeah, one more thing that I wrote down on my bullet points is, when you notice that voice, I want you to practice relaxing before you continue eating. So let's say you've gone to the sofa, you've got your chocolate, right? And I'm going to come to your comments in a moment. You've gone to the sofa, you've got your chocolate, you're just about to eat it, and then the inner voice is saying things like, maybe you shouldn't be having this, or do you really want chocolate again? All the things. Before you choose to recognize and reassure and reframe, oh, I've got another R for you. Are you ready? Relax. Relax. Or in fact, you're going to recognize first. Recognize, relax, reassure, reframe. I love that. I'm going to make that into a carousel post. Thanks for that. Thanks, universe. More, please. So on a serious note, when you notice those thoughts, relax physically, because pleasure is the gateway to relaxation. Relaxation is the gateway to pleasure. If you're in a anxious, stressed, fight, flight, or freeze state before you go to eat, you're going to feel anxious, and it's going to be very difficult to, number one, actually enjoy your food, and number two, reassure and then reframe it in a positive new light. So allow yourself to physically relax by taking a few deep breaths, whatever it is you've got to do, and then you can reassure yourself, and then you can reframe. Okay. Right, let me get onto the comments and see how I can help you this way. So Caroline says, what are your thoughts on health and meds from health? Can you get healthy so you don't have to take them? What medication are you talking about, Caroline? Are you talking about blood pressure tablets or any other form of medication? So just let me know, and I'll just wait a minute because it's a bit of a delay. So then I can then go on to Dawn's comments. Let me know, Caroline. Blood pressure. Okay, great. Thank you for sharing that. With blood pressure tablets, you absolutely can come off the medication when, and again, I'm not a doctor, when you and your doctor agree. With blood pressure, of course, we need to be getting your blood pressure down naturally. And that comes through relaxation, meditation, allowing the stress and anxiety in your life to dissipate, or changing your life to make your life more enjoyable, eating foods that are nourishing for your body, getting in some body movement. This is all health from a weight neutral perspective. So maybe your doctor, and this is really unfortunate that most doctors do this, will prescribe weight loss to fix your problem of X, Y, and Z. Whereas what I want you to do is everything your doctor advises you to do it, but don't ignore the weight loss thing altogether. If your doctor's advising you to get more body movement, absolutely do that. If your doctor's advising you to eat more fruits and vegetables, absolutely do that. If your doctor's advising you to cut things out of your diet, absolutely don't do that. Add more healthful things in and make choices from a place of nourishment and self-care over self-control. And this is where it's really helpful to work together one-to-one or in a group environment, so I can support you through this. But yes, Caroline, in the short answer to your question, it's absolutely possible to come off the medication. In fact, I've had many clients on different kind of medication, blood pressure tablets for one, and they've managed to come off them, and also depression tablets, and they've managed to come off them as well. And again, just to clarify, I'm not a doctor or a medical professional, but that's the experience I've had, and it just takes lifestyle change from a place of love. Okay, so let me see what Dawn is saying. As a youngster, I would always jokingly tell people I was adopted from the gypsies. I now realise that it may have been a defence mechanism to bring humour to the reality that there was very few baby photos of me. Wow, so I didn't have to deal and feel. Oh, I love that, Dawn. Deal and feel. Feeling is healing. Thank you for sharing that. And then Dawn still says, I think I'm second guessing myself a lot. My inner voice is still popping in around sugar. It's still asking me, do you really not want those sweets, or are you forcing yourself to believe you don't want them? Okay, that's really interesting. So I want you to experiment with this, right? So when you notice around the sweets, your thoughts saying, do I really not want them, or am I trying to pretend that I don't want them? I want you to try two different things on two different occasions. Number one, when you notice it again, eat the sweets and be really mindful about how you feel. And then you'll get the answer to whether that was a good thing for you to do or whether you actually didn't want to do that at all. And then the next time you feel that come up again, don't eat the sweets and see how you feel. Because that will just show you, I mean, yes, every day is different. Every day brings up different emotions, so not everything is going to be exactly the same, but practice doing the sweets and not doing the sweets and see how you feel. And then underneath all of that, it's no biggie. Whether you eat the sweets or don't eat the sweets, it's really no big deal. My goal for each and every one of you is to just be relaxed around food, and for food to just be, well, it's food, or I ate that, I didn't really want it, oh well, next time I won't, or I kind of did want that and I didn't have it, so I felt like I missed out. No biggie, it's just food, right? Okay, so let me just see any others. Dawn, I feel like I've made progress around sugar. You absolutely have, Dawn. You absolutely have. It's just those really sugary sweets like Haribo, etc. I'm good with other sugars like chocolate, fruit, and ice cream. Okay, great. So, Dawn, what did you do in order to feel relaxed around chocolate and ice cream? Whatever you did to help you relax and be at one and not judge those kind of foods, keep practicing as you're eating the Haribo and the sweets and things like that. Because I used to think around sweets like pick and mix sweets, I used to think, well, there's absolutely no nutritional value whatsoever. But that's not true because sugar is a carbohydrate and we need sugar and we need carbohydrate. And also, we're forgetting the emotional satisfaction that comes with eating. It's not just fuel, there's emotional pleasure and satisfaction in there as well. So just allow yourself to bring those into the equation when you're making the decision. And then Dawn, second guessing, I think I have spent such a big part of my life convincing myself and others that I'm a certain person with certain behaviours around food and that I'm doubting, oh, I've lost myself, yeah, and I'm doubting what my actual feelings are. Am I still lying to myself and convincing myself of something that isn't actually true? Does that make sense? I think it is similar to your question around, are you pretending to yourself that you don't want the sugar or do you actually not want the sugar? I think it's similar to that. Let me just read it again in my mind. Convincing myself and others that I'm a certain person. This, what comes to me here is the word labels. Let's remove any labels that we have on ourselves, which can be very difficult because as a human, our ego loves to have labels. Like I used to label myself as the really fit one or the healthy one or the one who could eat shitloads of chocolate. Like all these things, the labels that we identify with, our behaviors become in alignment with those identities that we've set for ourselves. So you can ask yourself, is this label that I've created for myself serving me? If that label was to disappear and I was no longer seen as that, would that make me feel expansive and relieved and light? Or would that make me feel contracted? So imagine if you went to a different country, didn't know anybody, and they didn't know who you were, and you could choose who you was, would you still be the person that you are labeling yourself as now? That's a great question to ask. Caroline says, I love the meaning, feeling is healing. Yes. Feeling is healing. If you're feeling an emotion that's really difficult to feel and to sit with, remind yourself, feeling it is healing it. And you must feel it in order to heal it. You cannot bypass that. As humans, we want to run away from pain and always run to pleasure, which is completely okay and makes sense, right? But there's a reason that we have feelings as a human. They're our GPS for our life. They're always communicating something with us. So if we don't allow ourselves to feel it, it will never go and we'll never heal it and get the message or the information that it's sharing with us. So feeling is healing in more ways than one. And Dawn says, I have started saying a lot, this is normal. I used to say it's just food, but I'm just saying that, but I've added this is normal. Yes, I love that, Dawn. So when you eat the Haribo, this is normal. Whatever resonates with you is key. It's just sugar, it's just food, this is normal. Whatever resonates with you is going to be the best for you. So thank you for sharing this time with me. Dawn and Caroline watching the live, thank you for interacting and asking more questions. Thank you for those that are watching this back. Thank you for those that are listening to this on the pod. I love each and every one of you so much. You can't even imagine how much I love you, even if I've not met you yet. May sound a bit corny, but I mean it when I say that I have so much love for you, and just allow yourself to feel and receive the love that I'm giving so freely and lovingly to you. And if you have any questions off the back of this, please just reach out to me. Caroline says, I found in the start of my journey, I started really well as my loving partner is helping. It's really helpful to have support around you. You don't need support from a partner. It's definitely helpful and it's going to help you on your journey, but this is where I can support you. You don't need everyone around you to be in the same mindset as you. It's helpful, like I said, but this is why you can reach out and get help for yourself. And just before I say bye, Dawn says, I've learned not to beat myself up so much, and this will take lots of time. It's taken 30 years to get where I am, so it's not going to happen overnight. Exactly that. So what you're doing and what we're all doing as we go through this work is rewiring our brain. It's called neuroplasticity. So we're rewiring the way our brain works, and we can absolutely do that. It's just a bit uncomfortable sometimes and it takes a bit of work. But the good news is, because we're rewiring it back to self-love and self-care, that's our natural state anyway. So it's a lot easier. It's just we've been doing the opposite for so many years. It's going to feel weird. It's going to feel uncomfortable, but it's so worth it. It's so, so worth it. All right, my love, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being here. Remember to choose self-care over self-control, and I'll see you next time. Mwah.